Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Mercedes Benedict show. And I have a great guest for you tonight. And he is truly a trooper because I made some time zone errors. And so I want to thank him for staying and being able to continue on with this show. So I want to welcome Derek Young to the show. Hi, Derek. How are you?
I'm all right. How you doing?
I'm good. I know it's a little late on your time over there. It's still kind of early here. So, I found out about you from a mutual friend of ours, and she highly recommended you to be on the show. So, I just want to say a little bit like this guy. Just check him out on the Facebook. Look at him through, Google him. He's a filmmaker. He's an actor. He's a director. And this one's funny because I kept getting the words wrong, but he's wrestling manager Bronco Barnett, which I kept getting that incorrect. I'm so sorry. Tell us a little bit about you and what you're doing right now. You've got a lot going on.
Yeah, it's actually real fun. I have four films that are finishing simultaneously. The first one, sadly, I started filming it 10 years ago, and I went into a depression, and then my dad died. So it kind of threw me off, and I'm now finishing it along with another one that I had filmed around the same time. I'm finally getting it released. And then the other two, one I filmed just a few years ago, finishing it up. And then I got one more that we're hitting there too. And we'll talk about them individually because they're real fun projects.
Yeah.
But then on top of that, doing pro wrestling, I doing the whole managers thing where I'm Bronco Barnett. Actually, I'm with this company in West Virginia right now. They have their own streaming platform, APW Stream. We just landed on all of the Fox stations in Southern West Virginia.
Wow.
So where everything for our TV is going to be on that. Our TV is actually able to be seen on local TV in Martinsville, Virginia, in New York, New Jersey, and in North Carolina,
Wow.
in a couple cities in those states. And then I have another company that I'm working for, Pure Pro Wrestling, and they have TV at one of the local stations in Martinsville, Virginia. So it's a whole lot of fun with that. And then kudos with you. I'm also a producer to my friend Greg Titterington's podcast, Racks and Razors Radio, and we interview horror film celebrities and stuff like that, and
Oh,
delve in deep with horror films. We only do shows every so often because he's in Canada, and the time zone things, fun to
I
try and
know.
play with, especially with the different celebrities and them having their different time zones too, and you having to
Yeah.
match times up with everybody. So, we do that when we get a chance. Which you can find his stuff on racksandrazors.com or on Facebook with Racks and Razors Radio. And it's real fun, to be able to do stuff like this. And then I also, December 25th, I released an album that I recorded when I was 19 years old. Um, I
Wow.
finally, I finally got the gumption to release it on my own because thanks to TikTok, they have this thing for artists called Sound On, where you can go on and upload your music and they put it out on all the streaming platforms for you and keep up with all the analytics and how it gets
They
used and
do?
played. Yeah, like you can literally go in and you can keep up with, you can track how many people have listened to it per day and everything else. And it's really cool. You don't make a lot of money with it, but at least I'm getting my music out there. People can use my music now for reels on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. Um, and There's some songs that I wrote that I had my buddy Wayne Golden. Everybody calls him Count Six String. I had him cover the songs, um, and one of those songs um, I absolutely love because it was for one of the films that I helped produce, Toxic Tutu. I don't know if you ever heard of the Toxic Avenger, but I
I
helped.
have heard of that.
Okay, so Cadrosa's got a little spot with that too, but I actually helped produce Toxic Tutu, which is the mockumentary around Melvin the Mop Boy and him coming back to his fans after being gone for 30 years. And we asked Joe Nardelli, who sadly passed away, is the guy who was behind making the film. And he literally brought the entire Toxic Avenger cast back together for that movie. So it's a lot of fun, and it's amazing to be a part. Like I was born the year Toxic Avenger came out, so to now be linked all these years later with that franchise is just amazing.
Wow, that's amazing. You got this is so great. I love the TikTok news for me because we're kind of the same. Like I had stuff that I've done a while back that I'm just redoing again like this year. So that I love that. I'm gonna look into that. So okay, so this is just amazing. So first off, I don't know how you're doing all this at one time, but it sounds kind of like me, but but it's amazing
I
you're able
barely
to do
sleep.
all that.
Yeah,
You don't sleep.
I barely sleep. I barely sleep. I don't have
And
time
you
for
have
that.
a family too. You have a beautiful family.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. And I got two wonderful boys. I have a daughter that I have never actually been able to meet, sadly, because her mother. I found out. I found out about my daughter when she was two, and her mom moved as much as she could to try and keep her from me because she didn't want me to take her from her. And so it is what it is. But she, I've been able to video chat with her and talk to her, but she lives all the way across the country, and we just haven't been able to finally meet yet. But now that she's an adult, it might happen soon. So
yeah, and then you can make up for lost time. I pray for that for you. That could be a whole movie in itself, someday. Well, let's kind of
yeah.
rewind and tell me. Let's start with that original movie, the one that you did 10 years ago. Now that, and then you got depressed, and then your father died, and so what made you decide to get it back out?
Well, I'm not the type of person that likes to not finish what I start. Um, and the depression I got into, I just didn't even want to deal with the entertainment industry anymore at all. I was done with it. Um, and then when I was coming out of that and getting my creative vibe back again, that's when I lost my dad. So it kind of kicked me back down. But it's funny enough, that movie is actually the sequel to the first movie that I ever made. Um, I made the movie called Family Property Backwoods Killing Spree. I filmed it in 2008. It got released finally in 2013. And when it was released, it was deemed the worst film ever made, so bad it's good, which I'm very proud of because filmmakers, ever since kind of like the late 60s, have been trying to take that title from Plan 9 from Outer Space and failed. And literally, it's on the cover of my film because of how it is. But it ended up within a year, it got deemed a cult classic. And then it was the number one seller for the distributor for that whole year. And
Wow.
it actually stayed sold out of being able to get copies for like 9 months, which I was very happy for. But it's funny because where I went into my depression, it kind of ended up, I guess it was kind of like my film wanting something to happen for it that needed to, because when I went into my depression, I didn't realize there was a few scenes that I hadn't filmed. and it had got time. It went by so much that we literally couldn't go back to filming because everybody changed so much in look. And my friend Michelle Blasky, I passed the movie over to her to do the editing for me, um, and told her, like, hey, look, this is a grindhouse film. I want it to seem like we're watching a movie that's had pieces degraded, that falls apart, things of that nature. And I want it to be the best sequel it can be for the worst film ever made. And I don't know how she did it, but when she was done with the edit, I watched the movie and I literally believe I could take the title from myself,
Oh my
um,
God.
which would be crazy. But it's a real fun film. Of course, Kadrosha Ona's in it, along with my friend Mike Halleck. God rest his soul. He passed away a few months ago. Um, but and then I got Jenny Janetti in it. She's actually playing the daughter, and she's the main character for the film. But pretty much the whole premise of, and the title for this one's Family Property 2 More Blood. And Family Property Backwoods Killing Spree, I made that since it was going to be my first film. I kind of went into it like, hey, look, I'm a Hitchcock fan. I like the not showing everything so much. And then I was going around to horror conventions and seeing all these parents with their kids, but their kids were so young that they hadn't been able to let them watch horror films yet. So I was like, why don't I make a starter for kids?
Yeah.
Right. So literally, the horror film doesn't have, Family Property Backwoods Killing Spree has no nudity, barely any language, and barely any gore. Right.
Good for you.
So all the parents that have picked it up have been able to let their kids watch it. And it's funny because if you watch it, if I watch it, if anybody else watches it, it's not scary. There's nothing to it. But there's been so many kids that watch it and are like, man, this thing is so freaky. But like, there's this one family that got a copy of it, and they had like 5 kids, and they watched it the first time, and then they ended up 6 months later getting another copy from me because they had killed it because they watched it every Wednesday religiously. And it
Wow.
became a family thing for family night on Wednesday nights. The parents were done with it. They didn't want to see it ever again, but they had to. So it's a lot of fun. But with family
Wow.
pro,
That's amazing. I mean, can you imagine? Like, that's your movie. And they're watching
yeah.
it every week.
Well, it's hilarious because the entire when I did the cast screening for that film, the entire cast, my entire family, everybody said that it would never get distribution. And then I looked them all in the face and I said, I don't care what you think, but it's going to get worldwide distribution. And it was kind of funny because I ended up signing with Worldwide Multimedia
Oh,
and then watching the movie come out worldwide. And it was actually really fun because when it was selling out, I was able to find out that the only place that had copies of the film when it was doing its sellout stuff was in Australia. There was an Australian website that had copies. And when I converted what they were charging in their currency into American dollars, they were charging $100 a copy for my movie. And
oh my.
hilariously, I watched the 10 copies that they had sell. So I didn't get any money out of that because, that was
Right.
them selling it for that. But hey, I could say my movie sold for $100 a copy. So,
Holy cow. That is incredible. Now, see, when I was reading about you, I was like, wow. I mean, there was like, you're highly respected in the things that I had seen. And so I'm like, wow, this is amazing. So it's great to hear the understory of how all this happened. Have you always been a manifester, like, a faith believer and. in yourself
Well,
like that, I assume.
well, I mean, it's real hard for me to manifest good stuff because I have OCD, ADHD. Um, I have a slight bit of Asperger's, and on top of that, I have a bad stutter whenever I get nervous,
Oh,
and I have severe depression that I can fall into sometimes. So it's one of those things where it's like really really complicated for me to think of good things, but
okay.
when I do think of it and I do say, hey, this is going to happen, normally it happens. So,
Good.
I mean, to be honest, God's always on my side. So,
Yeah.
and, and I'm glad he is. A lot of times he just sits back and watches me screw up and lets me go through all the problems I have to go through to learn my lesson. All right.
Yeah.
But for the most part, when I need him, he's there and so I am a firm believer, that I am a firm believer in God being there for us, mainly because there's nothing that can prove that God isn't real, but there's a lot that can prove that he is.
Oh
So
yeah.
I tend to stick with the faith that he is. Um, there's a lot of things that I know and I could get into in the conversation with a lot of people about the reason why like the Bible is actually completely different than it originally was written and how it got transformed through the years because of all the studying I've done, right?
Right.
But you know, aside from that, the underlying thing in it, the main thing to come by and to know, the main little pieces, the outline and blueprint that is given, I firmly believe in. So, you know,
With you. That's,
and
and you know what? And that just it just shows you truly like, for you to be able to make it through all to those trials and tribulations that you have had to live through, and to still be able to create, still get back up and still keep going, and having the strength to keep going, so I understand all those things that you said. I have family members that have that, and I've gone through depression and gone through hard times, and I'm still here too. So, and it's the faith. It's my faith. But
yeah,
so okay,
it's
and
hilarious though, because whenever I tell people I believe in God, they look at me like, well, how can you believe in God and make horror films? And I'm like, well, first off, I'm going to break it down like this. Horror films actually are the main source for being able to showcase the battle of good versus evil. Right? Horror films literally showcase different things, and you can put different messages into things to showcase that it's okay to be who you are, to enjoy what you do. And see, like my main thing is I've I'm a firm proponent in the fact that a lot of people that claim to be believers in God like to judge people too much when they're not supposed to. And in my belief, God wants you to be with the people that don't believe, not everybody that does, right? And the best way to do that is to be amongst everyone that loves horror films, because there's a lot of people in the horror community that do not believe in God. And the only way you can win them over is to be there and they be able to see you become a fan of your work and then maybe listen to your stories um, that may seem far fetched, but 100% true, you know? Because, like, when I was 16, I was in a car wreck that should have killed me. I was literally in a little bitty car driving you remember the little Plymouth Sundances that are like Dodge Shadows, right? They're real small cars. The roof was literally this high above my head, and that was it. And there was
wow,
no, I'm so big that there was no way I could just climb from the driver's seat to the passenger seat or anything like that. But I got T-boned, and when they got there, they had to use the jaws of life to cut me out of the car. And they said that literally my entire body was in the passenger seat, and it looked like I wasn't the person driving. So it was almost like somebody just picked me up out of the driver's seat and put me in the passenger seat, because literally the driver's side was completely crushed in. And if I hadn't have been put into the passenger side, I wouldn't have made it. So
Wow. So somebody, I think that was something bigger than us helped you on that one,
yeah,
saved your
it's
life.
that's the way I've always looked at it. You know,
Yeah.
as there's no other reason I should be alive except for
Yeah.
God wasn't ready for me to die yet. You know,
Yeah.
so
I hear you. I went through two of those type of near death experiences, like back to back. Should have died twice, and within, couldn't walk. The car's totaled. So that was the life altering moment that changed everything for me, my whole direction. So I understand what you're saying. So on what of that do you put a little bit of that in each of your movies, like, so like the let's go now forward to the newest movie that you have.
actually, actually, I do.
Okay.
That's like when we open up with in the Wright family. We actually open up at a funeral, where we're hearing "Amazing Grace" being sung beautifully by Lisa Ray, and then we have our pastor who's praying over the funeral. So I put little things
Yeah.
in everything, just because to me it showcases real life, and it makes it feel a little more real.
Yeah.
Um, like I already know, because I do low budget stuff, that I'm not high quality, but what I want is to offer a real fun ride that people can sit down, enjoy, and have a good story, and be able to understand the concept and be happy with what they watched when they're finished with it. Um, it's like, family property. Some people were like, man, I can't believe I watched that, but it was a train wreck I couldn't turn my eyes away from. And I did it on purpose. So to hear them say it, I was like, all right, I did my job, you know. Um, but it's just a lot of fun. And then with family property too, more blood. We had a lot of great fun. There's some great scenes in it. We actually there's a scene where one dude's buried in the ground up to his neck, and the killer pushes a lawnmower over his head. I'm very proud of how that scene came out, because it's phenomenal. Um, we had great special effects from my friend Philip Hurt, and we sat back and we were able to have a lot of fun with it. Um, and I got Johnny Fairplay from The Survivor, who it was when he was on The Survivor. Literally, it was at the exact same time that we got Osama bin Laden, and because of the stunts that he pulled on The Survivor, literally the day that they announced Osama bin Laden was taken down, on the very front page of the New York Times was Johnny Fairplay, the most hated man in America. And you had to flip over to the next page to see the fact that we had gotten bin Laden. So it was awesome to work with him. We did a great spot with him where we set him on fire, and I was able to get some people to do a burn thing. So we see somebody sitting there flailing with fire on them, and then we had some great effects to after effects to showcase him being burned up, which was fun. Um, the story in itself is just real great. Kadrosha, oh man, she did an amazing job to be the mom that was a caring mother who was putting up with an abusive husband who was who literally beats her and rapes her in front of her daughter.
Oh,
She literally then goes from her husband's died and she's so lost without him that she's blaming the daughter for him dying, and now she's meaner than she's mean as he was, so she does a full spit of change
wow.
in her personality, and it was amazing to see her pull that off. um
Wow.
yeah, it's a lot of, like I said, family property is going to be something that's really fun. Like, it's not a scary horror film. It's a little messed up at times. It's a lot of comical. For purposes though, like, I'm glad we're having this interview because I'm going to put something out there that happened with this movie that may cause controversy.
Okay.
Um, and there was no way around it. So people can't blame me for it happening. It happened because it was meant to, I think. But there was this gentleman that was in the movie. He's a little older guy that I was friends with, and he said my granddaughter wants to be in the film. I said, "Well, how old is your granddaughter?" He said, 8 years old. I said, "Okay, well, we'll figure out something. I don't want to turn her down if she's your granddaughter. You're in it. You want her in it. She wants in it. We'll figure it out." So the day he came to film, he said, "So you good to let her come, right? Because I'm gonna go back and get her if we've got something we can do with her today." And the actress that was supposed to show up for this spot on finding one of the characters who's been chained up in this building outside
Oh.
was supposed to be older, and she was supposed to find him and tease him, and then his sister find her in there and kill her. Well, I said, well, she didn't show up, so we'll figure it out. Go ahead and get your granddaughter. I'll find a way to put her in the movie, and I'm gonna have to figure out this other thing anyway. So we'll figure out something for her. Well, when she gets there, um, mind you, I have constantly tried to get around the concept that normally happens in horror films when it comes to um, people from the African American community, from the black community, right? Normally in horror films, you'll see one person from that community in the film, and they normally die at the beginning of the movie. That's the way all the horror films were in the 80s and 90s. All right. And I have tried my I have tried so hard not to have that happen in my movies because I don't want to fall into that same stereotypical horror film, right?
Hmm.
Um, and I did not know that his granddaughter was also mixed, and she showed up, and at this point, nobody um, from the African American community put in to be in this movie, so pretty much everybody in it's white, all right? And then she shows up, and she's the only person in the movie. And then she begs me to die in the film. I couldn't say no to a little 8-year old girl who wanted to die in a horror film.
Oh my God.
So the stereotypical thing happens in the movie, but it's not just the way that it was in the 80s and 90s. It's also an 8-year old little girl. So,
Hmm.
so so far, distribution companies that I've talked to have said that it's too graphic to put out, mainly because of that scene.
Yeah.
If I would
Okay.
cut that, if I cut that scene out, then I can release the movie. I'm not doing that. She begged to be in the movie, so I'm going to find somebody that's going to release it like it is, and it'll be okay. you know, Even if I got to release it myself, somehow I'm getting it out there. That little girl, she's eight. she's 18 now, man. She's gonna
Oh,
see. She's gonna get to see what she did, and I am not stealing her from that moment. So, you know,
wow.
but then we got some other controversial stuff later in the movie because we're probably going to ruin rubber duckies for people for life. Um, but it's a very fun scene,
Oh
and it's
no.
hilarious, But the whole have you ever heard of the movie the Sleepaway Camp franchise?
Uh-uh.
Oh man, you got to go back and watch that. The Sleepaway
Okay.
Camp, great cult classic franchise. Anyway, I was able with Family Property to get with Frankie Vinci, who wrote the original theme song for the first one, and then I got with my good friend John Alton. I got with him, and he wrote the music for part 2, 3, and 4. He worked on the music for those. So
Wow.
I got both of them in. So now, this is their first time ever being on a film together, right? So then we took and played it back, and I was like, you know what? Since I got them, I asked my friend Michelle, who was editing, I asked her if she could film a little homage to Sleepaway Camp. So in the end of the film, there's an homage to Sleepaway Camp as well. So hopefully those fans love what we did. Um, I had a bunch of great people on that film, man. I was able to get Lloyd Kaufman, the owner of Troma Films, back to reprise his role as Mayor Kaufman. It's funny because he's been a part of every project I've had my hands in. Um,
Wow.
and it's just amazing because growing up, I loved all of his work so much. And to now, today, be working with him, it's just so amazing. And then my good friend John Johnson, um, he he's actually going through dealing with Parkinson's,
Oh.
and before he started getting real bad, I was like, "Hey Johnny, I know you've always wanted to be a part of something with Lloyd, so do me a favor, brother. Here's your. I'm gonna, if you don't mind, I'm gonna give you something so that you're in the scene that is with Lloyd." And so I was able to make that dream for his come true with this,
Oh.
um, which is great. And
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun. And I've been very, very lucky and blessed throughout what I've been doing. I haven't made it to the top of the mountain, which I never wanted to. I just want to be able to do this for a living, right? And it doesn't even have to be a rich living. I just want to be able to pay my bills and make movies, right? Um, and I think after this year, I might be on that route with
That's
everything coming out. But the second film I made, Midnight Matinee Psycho, I was so proud of it because it was my second film, and I went into it saying, you know what, I want to make something a little better than the worst film ever made. I want to do some better quality stuff here, but I still made a grindhouse film because that's something I love dearly, but yet everybody's trying to break me out of because they want to see me make stuff with better quality. But with Midnight Matinee Psycho, I was so happy that I did it the grindhouse way because there's literally a magazine um, back when it was released, Planet Terror and Death Proof came out from Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez.
okay.
And so the magazine did this review on it, and in the review, the first half of the review was them talking about those films and how
Mhm.
they had to clean them up in order to be able to be put into theaters and stuff. And it was so cool because they ended the entire review with saying that them cleaning up their stuff made true fans of grindhouse horror wonder what it would be like if somebody released a real grindhouse film today. And then at the last sentence of the whole setup that they had there was director Derek Young answers that with Midnight Matinee Psycho.
Oh
So
my God.
in a review for my second film, I got compared to Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez, which was
Wow.
very awesome. And then PJ Souls from Halloween, she made a cameo in that for me. And I was actually watching it at a convention with her for the first time, sitting beside me. And Jay LaRose from Saw happened to walk past the camera in one of my shots, and I couldn't cut it out. But you couldn't really, you can't really tell it's him, all right, because it just catches the back of his head. But as a, just a giggles thing, I asked him if I could credit him if he liked the movie. So he told PJ to let him know what she thought. And so when the movie's over with, we go over to Jay and he's like, "So what'd you think?" She goes into how good my acting was. And I told her, I was like, "I think he's wanting you to tell him what you thought of the movie, not me." And and PJ looked at him and she said, "With the right money and the right crew, I think he could be the next Quentin Tarantino."
Wow.
And the fact that she said that when I happened to just a few days before receive the magazine where I was compared to him,
Yeah.
and she didn't know anything about it, I ran over, grabbed the magazine, and said, "Look," and she just started laughing, and we've been friends ever since. Love
Wow.
her to death. She's the sweetest thing in the world. And
That's
then the
awesome.
yeah, it's been a fun little stint that I've been on since 2008. That's for sure.
Wow. And I love how you just love it, like you're like, I love doing this. And that's like the big thing, you're finding joy in that, and you're bringing people together. Like, you're trying to help people, make their dreams come true. The little girl, the Lloyd, putting them together. I mean, that's what makes you special. I know that Kadrosha had I because I always tell her I like to talk to inspiring people that try to help people. And so you are that. You are that. You're a
Well,
wonderful person.
the funny thing, Kadrosha became really good friends with Mike Halleck because of being on set for Family Property.
Wow.
And and that was I was literally giving Mike, because he was a professional wrestler. He was Mantar in the WWE back when it was still the WWF. And it's funny because he's been deemed the worst gimmick in wrestling history, right? With Mantar. And here I have the worst gimmick in wrestling history playing one of the main characters in the sequel to the worst film ever made, right? But I became friends with Mike and I told him, I was like, "Man, look, I want to give you your first acting gig, bruh, outside of wrestling." So I literally gave him his first gig and he was able to make a lot of friends there. And I'm glad for the ride that I was able to bring him on.
That's good.
Um, I actually traveled to New York and went to a wrestling show that he was on the indie circuit in New York with him. Um, and then, me and him stayed in touch over time, and he had diabetes, and because of who he was and getting out there the way he was, they actually filmed a video with him letting people know more about diabetes and stuff like that. So that was real cool to see him get into. And
Good.
it's just been a crazy time. Real fun, and you know, I, it's cool because over the years, like I somehow have been able to get apart and be attached to everything that I loved growing up.
Hmm.
Um, an example, I started doing podcasts on my own a while back, and I got away from it when, I got busier with movies.
Yeah.
And but when I was making Midnight Matinee Psycho, I was able to bring together Victor Miller, who's the writer and creator of Friday the 13th, and Ari Lehman, the first Jason from Friday the 13th, from
Wow.
the kid from the original. I brought them together on screen for the first time since Friday the 13th was made.
Wow.
And then in the same movie, there's this movie called Madman that came out around the same time, but it didn't take off because people were saying they were trying to be knockoffs of Friday the 13th, when in all reality they were filming simultaneously. They didn't even know anything about Friday the 13th when they were making that.
Huh.
But they didn't come out as soon as Friday the 13th did, so people were throwing them under the bus for just trying to be ripoffs, but they
Oh.
weren't. Um, but anyway, so I got the killer from that, Madman, who Paul Ehlers, who played Madman Mars. I got him to do a special 80s horror host intro for the movie. And then Tom Candela, who played the kid that called out Madman in the movie, I got him in. Well, that was their reuniting since Madman. And because I had them both on my podcast and got the producer of Madman on my podcast. And I was the first person to interview anybody other than Paul and the producer. So when they did the Blu ray release of Madman, they added my podcast interview with them in the special features of the Blu ray. So I got
Wow.
so I got connected with that movie too, which was crazy, right?
That's
So,
awesome.
it's just been like a crazy ride because if it's not for movies, it's like, you had the stuff in about me being a country rapper, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I literally recorded my album in 2004. I went to a talent competition that the crooked Lou Pearlman was having, the
Hmm.
guy that founded the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, and he's
Oh.
in jail now for all the stuff that he was doing dirty.
Hmm.
Anyway, he put on this talent competition, and while I was there, I I landed a manager in Nashville, Tennessee,
Wow.
and he was shopping me to all the labels, and it was funny because country rap wasn't a genre yet. So
Yeah.
he was actually shopping me as a country rap artist, and all of the labels said it would never sell. And exactly a year later, after one of the record labels turned down me being a part of everything, they brought Cowboy Troy out doing hip hop, and he was a part of Big and Rich and all that stuff. And I was
Yeah.
like, so that y'all think it wouldn't sell, but y'all get somebody who's already got a name and do it. Yeah, thanks a lot,
Mhm.
appreciate it. But they created the hip hop genre, and then country rap didn't become a genre until 2014. So apparently, I was 10 years ahead of my time. All right.
Wow.
Um, but so, like literally, my manager said nobody's being shopped as a country rap artist. There's people that do stuff that's considered the same, that would be considered that if it was a genre. But since it's not, they're just being shopped as rap artists or country artists. So
Mhm.
I was like, well, let's go ahead and get into it then. So it was a lot of fun. Um,
That's really
and
cool.
yeah,
And then you're kind of incorporating that now in some of the things that you do.
well, yeah, every movie that I've made, I've wrote the theme song lyrics for,
Awesome.
and I've gotten people. Like I got my buddy Wayne Golden to cover the song, and he would write all the music and then sing the song, and
Wow.
so it's been a lot of fun to incorporate that stuff. Sat back like so I've been able. It's been a crazy ride for sure.
Sounds
But
like you could write a song called Crazy Ride.
probably I think that might be something good to do. But
Yeah.
I took and So I've pretty much, like, in life, always been the outcast among outcasts,
Hmm.
um, because I am as weird as I am. Right. So I find myself being in the middle of all these groups of people that are considered the outcasts, whether it be professional wrestling world or in the horror world or whatever. And I find myself always sitting alone,
Huh.
still by myself, trying to find my way into conversations, you know? So I literally changed my performance name to Lone Wolf because of that reason. Because everybody, like, if you go look up my TikTok, it's Wolfman, and then the letter, and then, it's Wolfman with two N's instead of one, and then VA, for Virginia.
I saw the
And
Wolfman thing. Yeah.
yeah, so
I wonder what that. Yeah.
um,
Okay.
so I took being alone all the time and put it with the Wolfman thing, and just like, okay, I'm gonna put my music out as the Lone Wolf, right? So
Yeah.
if you look up, um, if you look up my name and Lone Wolf, um, all of my music now is on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music. Um, you can hit me up. I can give you all the titles of songs and stuff so you can look them up. But it's real fun because, um, when I back then, like, it's crazy. I don't know what I was thinking. Um, they were shopping me as a country rap artist, but then I also had a song called "A Prayer to God." So there's like a little bit of spirituality in it. There's, all these different forms of things inside of the music, and it's, like a roller coaster ride. You're sitting listening to the album, like, well, does this person know what genre they really are? It's like, I'm just me, man. I don't fit into anybody's little box. So
Yeah.
it's just how it is. But
I like
it,
that.
it's some fun stuff.
That's awesome. I mean, you just got a lot going on. You're creative. Your soul is,
And
you're
and like I said,
sharing your stuff.
I've been blessed. I became friends with William Pattison. His Back in the '90s, he came up with a pen name, Eric Morris, and he wrote the Camp Crystal Lake novels. He's got it was a teen novel for Friday the 13th to try and keep the franchise alive, until they were able to get another movie or something going. And literally, he's got enough haters trying to act like that he's not who he says he is.
Hmm.
Even though, I've seen all the proof that he is who he is, right? Um, and I the haters have started to die off over the years, which I'm glad, because he's getting a whole lot older and he just doesn't need the stress from that. He doesn't need a heart attack or anything. And I'd hate to
Yeah.
see something happen to him like that. But I got with him, and he actually did a little spot in this other movie that I'm getting ready to release, Psychotic State. And me and him got together, and I was like, "Hey, man, look, I filmed the movie, but the movie doesn't have. I didn't have enough money to do some of the things I would have liked to do." I said, "How about you make up the stuff that we could have done, and take my script and turn it into a novel, and let's novelize this." So we took the movie and novelized it, and that, he wrote a phenomenal book. Um,
Wow.
and but because of the storyline being with me and everything else, it also helped me become a published author too, because I'm listed as one of the authors.
Oh,
So
congratulations. That's awesome.
yeah, so it really sucked. We had a good publishing company. The book was getting out there, and then the haters, they jumped on the publishing company so bad that the publishing company let go of us. But he turned around and self distributed it, so you can still get it out there. Psychotic State, the novel. Um, It's a
Well,
real
that's
good
good.
it's a real good read. I mean, it's real good. Um, and it's a lot of fun, especially for people that like splatterpunk horror and stuff like real demented stuff. His brain, I don't know how he went to some of the places he did, but um, it's it's just been a great ride. And then when you go like into the professional wrestling world, I've been able to work with some of the greats in the business and do shows with some of the greats and get trained by some of the greats. I've been trained by the Boogie Woogie Man, Jimmy Valiant. I got trained by uh, Arn Anderson and Kevin Sullivan, and I've got to work with Sting and Scott Steiner. And um, over the course of time, I've been able to make a lot of great friends, and a lot of the friends I've made is by giving them copies of the worst film ever made. They remember me every time they see me after that, and it helped me become friends with DDP and Jake the Snake Roberts, and
Oh,
so I ended up doing Psychotic State, and Psychotic State, I ended up I made a movie where there's a short film at the beginning that shows the some of the effects that could happen because of bullying,
uh,
and I got this great group called World Paranormal. They took it and got this whole group together and put this production together for me. So you get a little short film in the beginning, and then you get a lot of public service announcements from a bunch of different celebrities against bullying. And then you get the movie, and then you get more public service announcements from celebrities. And I got some of the greatest people. Um, I
wow.
was I was able to get David Naughton from the American Werewolf in London.
Oh,
I
yeah.
got I got Jake the Snake Roberts. I got um, R.A. Mihailov, who was Leatherface in Texas Chainsaw 3. Um, I just got like some amazing people. And then I did a video with somebody, and they were right there getting ready to sign the contract for it to be in the movie. And their handler walked up and said, "Whoa, what are you about to sign?" And then said, "You're not making your movie off their name." But because of it, regardless, I got to film a little video public service announcement against bullying with Danny Glover. So,
Wow.
like I'm a nobody from the sticks, but I've made a video with Danny Glover.
Wow. And you know what? So you're not a nobody. People think you're awesome.
Hey,
You
look,
are awesome. I'm so happy to get to talk with you. And you know, you've done so well. You said you like to talk, boy. You do. You did great.
hey, look, I'm gonna tell you like this, right? The the greatest thing in the world that I love to tell everybody, right? They're like, "What do you want to do? Be a celebrity?" And I'm like, "No, I'm happy being the celebrity." Okay, I'm the person that everybody tags when they can't afford the celebrity, so that I can come in, and it's fine by me as long as I got fans and I got people that like what I do. I'm happy, right? Because literally, I pour every ounce of love that I can have for what I do into what I do for people, so that they can enjoy it and have a good time. And I love seeing people's reactions and stuff. I love hearing their thoughts on it. Um, it's just, a major, like, it's a major honor for me just to hear somebody say, "Hey, I saw your movie," or "Hey, I saw you act in this," or "Hey, I've seen you in wrestling," or anything, right? So like my mind is always everywhere. So I'm like, I might as well be in every aspect of the entertainment business because I enjoy all of it anyway. So
Yeah.
so I stepped foot into doing that and I accomplished it. Like literally my main goals in life, I've already took all those tiers down
Mm.
and I've made new ones that I need to climb to now, which is amazing. Um, that being said, for everybody listening, and I ramble a lot, so I'm sorry. Maybe you'd rather her had asked me questions
No, this is
or
fine.
whatever, but
No, it was awesome.
there's only so much time, and it's easier to just get in stuff if I ramble. But the greatest thing that I can say is to anybody watching, it doesn't matter what anybody thinks. It doesn't matter at all how many times you fail, because as long as you continue to push forward and try, you are a success. The only way that you are a failure is if you give up. So if you have a dream, it takes a while. You got to pay your dues. It don't happen overnight. The majority of people who are major celebrities now were nobodies for 10 years, 12 years before they hit their role. There's only a handful of people that become overnight sensations, and the rest of them you fall in love with over time. So if you have a dream, put forth the effort and the work, and know it's not going to happen overnight. So you got to have a job to cover the money needed to keep you with a roof over your head and keep you doing what you love in your spare time until you finally hit. And for everybody that does that, you will succeed. It's going to be hard, it's going to be rough. You're going to want to give up. I was on the verge of giving up forever, but I didn't. And now I have all this going on. So, to everybody that is watching and listening, remember one thing: you are your own success story. So, write it. Don't let anybody else control it. Regardless of what they tell you, they don't know what you can accomplish. Prove them wrong, fight hard, battle hard, and keep it moving every day towards your goals. And do not set goals too high to reach. Set goals you can reach. And once you reach those, set the next goals you need to reach. That way, you can climb the ladder slowly and make it to where your ultimate goal is. Because if all you're doing is shooting for that ultimate goal, you can't reach that jump without having the rungs to climb up.
Thank you. You know what? And it's the journey, isn't it? It's like you can look back and like, wow, I I appreciate every mistake made, because it just made you stronger. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I just really appreciate you coming on and talking about all this. It's really I really appreciate you very much.
Well, I appreciate you giving me the platform to do it on, and I appreciate everybody that's a fan of your show and the listeners, and because them being a fan of your show gives you the opportunity to bring people on and do this. So,
Yeah.
in a way, your fans are helping you make some of your dreams come true.
Hmm.
And you, in return, are helping other people put theirs out there to the universe. So it's a full circle. And all we need
Yeah.
to remember is that every one of us are the same. And the only thing we need to do is love each other, not fight, and stand side by side in solidarity and support each other instead of trying to tear each other down. Because at the
Yeah.
end of the day, tearing each other down gets none of us anywhere at all. Um, I know we only got a few seconds, but I would be remiss if I did not throw out the fact that I got to say I had Cleve Hall work on the Right Family. He was the monster. He was the Sci-Fi Channel's Monster Man. I had my buddy Dwayne King working with us as well. Both of them passed away. God rest their souls.
That's
Um,
so.
And I would be remiss if I did not throw out my good friends, um, Kurt and Kurt Esmond and George the Zombie Richardson. Without them, I would not have nothing, man. Them and Mandy Rivera and Damus Moss, which Damus made Sweet 18 that I directed. Um, and that's one of the other movies we got that's going to be coming out. But I'd be remiss without mentioning them and Callista Wilson, who's an amazing actress, and Anthony Neal, who's a great writer and an amazing actor. There's just so many people I got to work with. It's so amazing. I can't name all of them right now because it's so late in the interview, but to every single one of you guys, man, Kenny King, Christopher Harding, all you guys, you watching this, I'm telling you right now, I know you've heard me say it, but I'm saying it to you in front of the world. I would be nothing without you. You all are my family, and I am glad that I was able to create this great film family with you guys. I love every single one of you with all of my heart because you guys have been there for me through thick and through thin and with every one of these projects. And I got to thank everybody in my life real fast because without my kids, and
Oh,
without Crystal's support and without everybody who's been supporting me over the years, I would not be here. I would not be anywhere. So, always be humble enough to thank those who help you along the way.
thank you, Derek Young. You're a special person. You really are. You brought some great stuff to this night, and I pray that everybody that sees this in the future or sees this now will hear your message, and just I really thank you for that. Thank you so much. And I look forward to talking with you outside of here about my documentary and things I'm doing. It's neat to know somebody like you that's so like amazing, and I'm just kind of starting out with that. So it's really great. Thank you. Just thank you so much for being on here with the Web Radio Network, the cool
Well,
network.
well, I thank you. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you are working on a documentary
It's
and
done.
it's done.
I finished it. I did the part one, part two, part three. I just finished it this week. I have a song I already wrote. I put the music in myself too. So I have one song I'm working on that I've got to finish that I want to be in it as well. So that's my last thing to do, and now we're just getting it all making sure it's all perfect. But I love it, and it's taken me a long time to do it, and it's a whole real true story about everything that's we've been going through. It's
Okay.
amazing.
So so now I'm going to tell you this. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Now this is for me to you. And we're going to go over time. We started a little late anyway. Who cares? We ain't worried about it.
Sorry,
Anyway,
Steve.
hey, I'm in the mood now. So, hey, look, nobody promised you guys this show would only be an hour. And I didn't promise it would be anything other than what it's became. Um, but here's the thing, right? From me to you, if you don't find the right company to release your project, your documentary, um, I can recommend an email somebody that I know with a little tie together email with you so that you can see if they'd be interested in taking a look at it.
Well, thank
Um,
you.
because the other fun thing that Family Property backwards Killing Spree did was help uh, the people that run Chemical Burn Entertainment build sister companies.
Mm.
Worldwide Multimedia was one of the sister companies for them that they were building, and because they signed me, I started throwing them other filmmakers, and it helped build their catalog to where they built it up where it needed to be. And then those filmmakers were sending other filmmakers, and then all these people were talking about it. And now they have like 4 or 5 different parent companies, and
Wow.
one of their parent companies is Reality Films, and it's a full blown nothing but documentary distribution company. So,
That's
um,
awesome.
as everybody always says, God normally puts people together for a reason. So,
I love
um,
God.
yes, he's amazing. So, message me your email address, and I will do a little thing to try to
Oh,
tie you guys together to see if we can't get your story out to the world. Um, because first time documentary filmmakers have trouble getting distribution because a lot of people look for some real high quality stuff. And a
yeah.
lot of times, first time filmmakers make mistakes that they don't like. But when
Right.
you have a good independent distributor who does what they're supposed to, and I can stand by them because I've stood by them for 10 years now, 11 years now, ever since they released my first film. They've released a lot of films that I have been a part of, whether I acted in them or produced them or directed them. I've sent them to them. They've done what they were supposed to. They've always sent their sales sheets like they were supposed to. They've always paid what portion they were supposed to the filmmakers. As far as I know, nobody's ever complained to me about them at all.
Wow.
Um, they get the movies out there, so as long
Mhm.
as you have everything put into the formats that they need for streaming and for all that good stuff, they might be able to work with some things with you. So just
Thank you.
hit me up and we'll see what we can't do about making your dream come true of having your documentary out worldwide instead of just sitting in your house.
You're gonna make me cry.
There's no reason to cry. It's reasons to smile.
Happy. Thank you. I've worked a lot, very hard on this. It's like
Well, we'll see
right
what we
now,
can
like,
do.
what am I supposed to? Yeah.
All I can do is offer up putting the word in and trying,
Okay.
but
I
but
appreciate it.
I will do that much because it is what it is. It's how I am. It's who I am. It's what I do. I
Thank you
always
so
try
much.
to help. I always, well, I'll put it to you like this: Lloyd Kaufman himself, who is the owner of Troma Films, and have been in business since the '80s, making movies. Right? I am proud of one thing. If he needs something and he thinks that I might be able, if he needs something specific when he's making a movie, whether it be one movie he was making, he needed professional wrestlers and he knew I had started that. So he was like, hey, can you send me some guys? And I'm like, hey, I'll see what I can do. And I got him some people, right? Um, but it's like just the other day, out of nowhere, I get a message from him tied in with somebody else who's producing the new movie that he's making. And it's like, hey, look, we got stuff we need for this. You think you can help us? So like, amazingly enough, he knows he can rely on me to come through. So I try to make sure everybody knows that they can. Um, I felt like such a failure with that when I went through my depression, but I'm trying to make up for it now. Um, so hopefully everybody's not too upset with me for the long wait on the film, including the people that donated for it to be made. But there was a lot of stuff I was going through, and
Yeah. It all happens at the right time, at the right place. It's just the timing. It's synchronicity. And I just thank you so much. And I well hopefully I'll have you back on again. We'll get the right time zone this time. Next time, okay?
hey, I'll come back and talk all day long. I don't care. We can
Okay,
talk
good.
about whatever you want to. We can talk about the
Awesome.
mysteries of the earth, UFOs. We can talk about
Ooh,
whatever you want. We can
I
have
love
some
all that.
fun. We can
Okay,
have
cool.
some fun. So, but
Thank you so much. Thank you so very much. And so let's just say thank you to everybody listening. And again, please check Derek Young out. Like he's go back and re-listen to this. This is a great interview. It's a great conversation. So there's so much. Oh, and I got to tell you, I did see the pictures of the family. The family. What is it? The family.
Family property too.
Yeah, the pictures on that look amazing. Like the cast, it just really does. Like every picture I saw looked really cool. So I'm going to watch that. But anyway,
Yeah.
I better get going. But thank you so very much, and thank everybody for watching and listening. And y'all take
Oh,
care. God bless. You got
Scott, let
something
me
else?
throw out. Yeah, let me throw out one more thing for Luke. Please check out Racks and Razors Radio because we have some amazing videos. Not videos, but interviews already up with a lot of people. We got to interview Dee Wallace. We've interviewed Tony Todd. We've interviewed some great people, and we've had those. Every interview we've done over the years is up. So you can go listen to all of those and get caught up on everything, every interview we've done while you're waiting on us to come out with something new.
Awesome. Thank you. I love Dee Wallace.
Yeah,
I want to have
she's
her.
amazing.
I'd like to have her on this show. Okay. All right. Well, thank
I'll
you,
send you
everybody.
I'll send you the contact info you need.
Okay. Thank you. God bless you. Good night, everybody.
Good night, guys. Thank you.